Another great looking and sounding TVR Chimera. They're all flooding in now. Lovely Triumph Stag convertible in white. What a great looking Mini Clubman estate. Today on CarTraction, you join us on a chilly February morning at Heskin Hall. Now this is a place we haven't been to before. It's quite a bit up north for us, so today we're in the Jaguar XJ8 because there's a little bit of wet salt and it's actually quite far for us, this particular place. But today we're here parked up to a lovely Jaguar XK8 for a little breakfast car meeting or car show. I don't really know what's going to happen, but it's a very nice setting, and apparently there's about 100 cars expected, a mix of classic cars, sports cars, a bit of everything really. So really looking forward to checking out this new event. We're here quite early, there's a few things here already, but yeah, let's see what turns up today at the Heskin Hall Breakfast Classic Car Meet. A few classic cars are arriving, which is good to see. Decent forecast, so we should get a nice little turnout of a varied selection of cars today. And I'm starting off the video with this absolutely wonderful Austin A40 Farina, a car that I'm sure Dad will absolutely love, as his very first car that he still has, although it is in many pieces, is a Series 1 Austin A40 Farina. So this is the sort of Mark II, Series 2, you could probably Mark II is probably a better way of saying it, as the Ford Granada pulls in the Mark II shape of the Austin A40 Farina, BMC A Series engine, an engine that was in many cars of this era. Pininfarina designed. I believe the A40 Farina was one of the first Farina designed cars in Austin's range as well. That's a really lovely, great looking car. These are sold as the Countryman and just a normal saloon. The Countryman, the whole back would sort of lift up like a hatchback one, probably one of the first hatchbacks, but as you can see this one just has the separate boot lid, so this bar would remain there, which is probably less practical but more traditional, and they were sold as a Countryman, and this is just a saloon here. There also appears to be a child's trike in the back, but these are a fantastic, affordable, easy to work on starter classic car to own. Really love the look of that. And just next to us in the Jaguar XJ8 3.2 Sport is another example of an absolutely fabulous aged Jaguar. This is a 4-litre V8 powered Jaguar XK8, and I think ice blue the colour is. We're in zircon blue. This is a slightly lighter shade which I think would make it ice blue, but these I think are wonderful looking cars. I'd absolutely love to own one of these in a few years' time. Just fantastic looking cars, very evocative of the Jaguar E-Type automatic gearbox. The underpinnings of this are basically a Jaguar XJ, which is that one there. So this has got an extra 800cc. The earlier ones of these were a 4-litre, so this is probably one of the slightly earlier generation of cars. The later one, a 4.2-litre V8. But these are so affordable at the moment, I think. What a fantastic looking car those are. But yeah, now we've had a little look at just a couple of a decent selection of cars that are already here. Let's go just maybe have a look at the entrance and see what else turns up today. A very picturesque setting for today's breakfast classic car meeting. Aston Martin DB7 coming in now. Fantastic variety of cars already turning up, ranging from supercars to Fiat coupes and hopefully a few classics. The BMW M4 is threading its way through the entrance now. Next up to roll in is that absolutely lovely Rover P5. This is a 3-litre engined car. Triumph Acclaim. Behind all the moderns I can hear a V8 snarl. What will it be? I think the good thing about this event is, as we haven't been before, ooh, Corvette Stingray. That is quite a vocal exhaust system. What I was saying is, because we've ventured north more than we usually would, that does sound nice. We're getting a different pool of classics, which is good to see. That is one great sounding Corvette. You can still hear that Corvette. The only downside of such a beautiful approach are these, and a few cars today will probably be leaving their mark. The exhaust scrape marks on one of quite a few little speed bumps here today. Is that a Hillman Hunter or Hillman Avenger? I really don't know my roots group. Yeah, Hillman Avenger, the red interior, wow. Super auto. What an absolute time warp. An automatic Hillman Avenger in absolutely mint original condition. Wow. 1950 Dodge pickup, that is absolutely mint. And just one of my favourite things about this, look at those lovely original indicators there. Well, not original, like a period accessory. That is wonderful. Straight six engine. That's 3 years younger than our 1947 Dodge pickup. Ours has quite clearly not been restored. That has been restored absolutely amazingly. Lovely six-cylinder sound, I like that. Such a diverse turnout of classic enthusiast cars and trucks and vehicles here today. Really looking forward to seeing what else turns up. Mercedes C220, very, very clean car. F-Type Jaguar. Really good showing of Jaguars here as well. Wow, well look at this. This appears to be some form of 1940s Ford, perhaps an ex-military sort of thing, but I think that's an old body, perhaps placed on a new chassis, I think, because the engine sounds a little bit too new in that. It probably would have had a flathead V8 originally, but that sounds like a later diesel engine. So I think that's an older, absolutely gorgeous body placed on a more modern chassis. And I think that's probably the same for behind. This appears, well, this at one time would have been a standard Vanguard, which was a saloon car, and this one has been cut down, probably placed on more of a modern chassis. It's got a modern diesel engine, LED lights, blacked out bumpers. There's a whole huge list of modifications on both of these vehicles here. So that's a totally original front on a modern chassis, and I don't think there's that much original about this one. This is one extremely modified standard Vanguard. They're all flooding in now. Lovely Triumph Stag convertible in white. 3-litre Triumph V8 Burble. Just beyond the really rare Vauxhall Cavalier, just behind, is in red Porsche 944. What a great looking Mini Clubman estate. Gotta love the fake wooden stripe down the side of that. Almost American in its styling there. Sounding great. Followed up by a Ford Escort van. Bit of a sleeper that one. Another great looking and sounding TVR Chimera. Well, we've got an incredible turnout of cars already, so let's just start somewhere. I think I'll start with this absolutely wonderful classic TVR. Now, this is a very early car. This is what TVR became into. This is a 8-cylinder Chimera. This thing sounds fantastic, so I want to get that one leaving this particular car meet later on. But this is a very, very early TVR. C-Reg will be roughly 1965 or 66. Now, I think the first of these were perhaps called the Vixen. Was that? I'm not sure really. This is an 1800S, huge curved glass window on the back there. What a great looking little car that is. Really sat low down in it. Very early example of a TVR. You really don't see many of these really early ones. Looks great in the sort of weathered silver paint, either original or very, very old restoration, but that's a really good looking classic sports car. That really do like that. And just next to that, is it the C3, the Corvette Stingray, 1972. Now this could be an especially rare car because I believe this has a manual gearbox. Now, the vast majority of these would have had a 3-speed automatic. You can see the insane exhaust system. But I have a feeling that this one, yes, has a 4-speed manual, which is a very rare factory option. A lot of these were opted with the 3-speed auto. But nowadays, from an enthusiast point of view, the manuals are a lot more desirable. People like, and it makes sense really, to shift your own gears, heel and toe shifting, and with such a big engine like that, that would just be a wonderful, wonderful driving experience. 454 cubic inch V8. That's a great looking car, and a really period colour, the sort of burnt orange, just a great looking car. And I'm sure a great sounding car as well. And on the complete other end of the spectrum when it comes to sort of variety and classics, what a rarity this is. A Hillman Avenger, and it's not just a super clean Hillman Avenger, but an automatic Hillman Avenger. Now this is probably the opposite. Most of these would have been sold as manual transmission cars. So seeing one of these in automatic is very, very rare. 3-speed auto, really, really unusual old car that. That's possibly one of the rarest cars here, one of the survivors really. There would have been lots of Hillman Avengers around in the 70s and 80s, but now they just really haven't survived, and that's a really cool little car. I do like that. Another TVR Chimera, this one in blue. It's a Bentley Continental, just beyond it, the W12 cars. Very unusual engine. I think it was the first Bentley that was made under the Volkswagen Group's acquisition of the brand. It's a Triumph Dolomite rolling in just behind this particular row. Jaguar XK8, this is the sort of Series 2 or Mark II XK8, much bigger car, still with a 4.2 litre V8, and a Mark III Mazda MX-5 with some cool decals. And just behind that is a very cool looking BMW E30. A couple of classic British saloons over here. First up, the Rover P6, a 3500S, so the Rover 3.5 litre V8 engine, the S denoting that this has a manual gearbox once again, so fantastic looking car I think actually, and a great driver's car. That's a very, very clean P6 Rover. This at first look seems to be a Jaguar 420, but this is actually a very rare Daimler badged version, so this is a Daimler Sovereign. But it's effectively a Jaguar 420, the Daimler brand bought by Jaguar just to effectively do some badge marketing really. It's with some very nice original lap belts, the Britax original lap belts. They wouldn't do much, but they certainly look good on the old Daimler Sovereign, much rarer than the already extremely rare Jaguar 420 on the classic scene nowadays. Ford Escort XR3i. That's good in black with the red decals. Another Rover P6, this is a much smaller engined car, a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder with twin carbs this one. Mercedes SL500, that's a really good looking car with the hardtop in blue, isn't it? Yeah, I do like that. It's a Mark II Volkswagen Golf. A Fiesta, I'm sure a lot of people watching will remember these, quite a nostalgic car. A Mark I Ford Fiesta, this is a 1.1 Popular. And what an original little car this is. Really, really clean and original, probably never been restored. The Popular Plus. Porsche 911, that's the Targa, that one, or just a cabriolet. I think it's a cabriolet actually. The Targa was another variant of a convertible Porsche where this is all fixed and you just take out the lift out roof, but I think this one has a whole actual removable roof, so it probably counts as a 911 cabriolet. Rear mounted flat six. Is this rear mounted? Probably more mid mounted, isn't it? On the Mark II Toyota MR2. And there's the little four-cylinder you can find in these. 2-litre engine, twin cam, 16 valve, and this has also got a sort of lift out T-top, I think it's called, Targa top. And I've never seen an automatic Toyota MR2. We're seeing some real rarities here today, but I've never seen an automatic one of those. That's very, very rare. There's some really, really rare cars here today. Beyond the GR Yaris, those are popular cars, is this absolutely wonderful looking Mark I Ford Escort on the steel wheels. Very, very good looking period accessory. I think they're probably my favourite wheels. You see a lot of these, this is in Mexico by the way, you see a lot of these Mark I and Mark II, especially Ford Escorts being modified, but that one just looks absolutely right with the period mods. Steel wheels really sets that car off. Just beyond that is the wonderful Fiat 126. This would have been a little workhorse back in its day, but now it's a proper enthusiast classic car. That's really eye-catching in blue, isn't it? Just shows how much bigger cars have got since then. And you really don't need anything. This would happily seat 4 people. Little engine in the back. Great little car that, next to a Mini, perhaps the sort of British counterpart from the sort of little 4-seater car scene. And what is going on here? There's a couple of cars coming in now, and while that initially looks to be a pre-war Triumph, the registration and a couple of things would suggest that's an older styled body based on a 1960s era Triumph, maybe a Spitfire or something like that. And this is a Marlin kit car, this one is. I think those have a V6 engine. I think, while it looks like a pre-war car, I think that Triumph especially is a much later underpinnings at least. So yeah, there's the two little British and Italian counterparts. Here's a much, much larger British saloon. This is a Rover P5 Coupe, but a 3-litre. Now, the vast majority of these are the Rover P5B. They're a lot more popular, to be honest, because they had the 3.5-litre Rover V8. But this has the 3-litre 6-cylinder engine. Super comfy old car. And the quality is absolutely incredible. The chrome on that is absolutely immaculate. What a great looking car that is. Super original. Very, very nice. And I do like this. This is a Mini Clubman Estate with the sort of pseudo wood down the side. That's a fantastic looking little car. Really like that. I think we're now extending into the overflow car park, but it is starting to fill up quite rapidly. And I'll start off, I'm obviously focusing on the more classic cars, that's what the CarTraction YouTube channel is about, and this fits the bill, doesn't it? Absolutely wonderful. Wolseley 1500 in the two-tone paint. Little 1500cc BMC 4-cylinder. Really comfy little car that. 4-door, really usable car as well actually. The engine's more than power enough to maintain probably 50 miles per hour, which is all you need really. The paint job on that especially, absolutely gorgeous. Really like that. Really great looking little 1950s classic saloon, that Wolseley 1500. Next to the Toyota Celica in silver. Triumph Stag in white. This made a wonderful burble on the way in, roof down. A little bit chilly, but you might as well if you do have a convertible. Automatic gearbox in these, more common when compared to the manual cars. Look at those for a set of exhausts. That would make a wonderful, wonderful burble. Land Rover Series 3, super original short wheelbase Land Rover there. A Ford Focus, MGTF, a Ford Escort. That looks quite an original, nice looking car that. Ford Focus ST, second McLaren of the day, a 570S. And a Mark I Mazda MX-5. although this one may well be an imported Unos Roadster. I think it is a Unos Roadster, basically a rebadged import version of the Mark 1 Mazda MX-5. That's absolutely immaculate and black, isn't it? And we're still extending this row. There's a Mercedes AMG, perhaps an AMG GTS, I think that might be, rolling in just next to the Mark II Golf. Yep, Mercedes AMG GTS. So it has something like a 6.3 litre, absolutely massive twin turbo V8 engine in there. Another TVR Chimera on some fantastic looking rims. Really like the look of the wheels on that. And yeah, that's rolling up next to a very, very clean Mark II Volkswagen Golf. Chimera is parking up next to the Marlin, and here's this curious little Triumph here. And it's actually, I misread it, it's a G reg. This is so perhaps based on, I think, looking at the suspension, Triumph Spitfire, this one, and it's sort of like evocative of sort of pre-war special. It's quite a nicely done conversion, to be honest. It does look quite convincing, but that seems to be most likely based, I think, on a Triumph Spitfire. There's an Alfa Romeo Estate, that's probably quite rare, and an MGB. First MGB of the day, actually. They're a mainstay of the classic British cars that you usually see. I'm surprised we haven't seen one yet. So that's parking up over there, and the Alfa Romeo Estate is manoeuvring as well. The P100 pickup, Ford Sierra pickup, perhaps a South African import or something. Might be a UK, I don't really know, to be honest. Beetle, these are getting on a bit now, aren't they? Almost. Well, this one is 20 years old, isn't it? And the BMW 1 Series, an E30 BMW. This was a 6-cylinder one, so a 320i or a 325i. Fantastic looking car from the Bavarian car manufacturer. Triumph Dolomite Sprint, this one, so the sporting version of quite a common saloon. Michelotti designed many of the 1970s era Triumphs and did a good job. I mean, isn't that a good looking car? That Triumph Dolomite Sprint. Little Mini here, I really love the sort of alloy wheels on this one. Really sharp looking little car, that. Ford Escort van, which looks really, really quite modified. There's a absolutely stunning Rover Metro rolls in. 2 Rover Metros, those are proper time warps, aren't they? Really affordable classic cars that you just don't see anymore, or emerging classics at least. Is it like a Nissan Primera or something? That's so rare. You just don't see this era of car. Oh, a Nissan Almera. Sorry, but you really just don't see anything like that. Back to this very, very cool Escort van. I'm sure that's got quite a punch in terms of its power. Porsche 944, good looking car that, isn't it? The Saab convertible here, Saab 9.3 I think. Ford Sierra, and a second MGB of the day. Nice sounding 1800cc B series in that one. Super rare Vauxhall Cavalier. Just beyond is the Vauxhall Frontera, but I'm sure this is probably one of the rarest cars here. I mean, we're seeing so many rare cars here today, to be honest, but this is certainly one of them. One of the cars that you just don't see anymore, isn't it? This is a Sierra XR 4x4, so a really rare car, being a 4x4 Sierra, as is the Vauxhall Cavalier L. Right, well, I think let's see what we can find in this car park here, the third section of the breakfast car meeting, absolutely huge meeting at Heskin Hall. Over here we had a look at the TVR and the wonderful C3 Corvette, but we haven't seen this immaculate Nissan Fairlady Z, the 300ZX shape, just yet. It's another good looking Chimera. I do like these, they're starting to grow on me, the Mark III MX-5, quite an affordable sports car with the sort of classic ethos, rear wheel drive, Revy 4-cylinder engine up front, Jaguar F-Type R. It's a real time warp, this Mercedes there. Quite a good looking car actually, and this is a very interesting 1950 Dodge pickup. Now we have a 1947 WC pickup, and those were made from about, I think it was 38 to 47, so ours is the very, very last of the old shape, and this looks 10 years ahead compared to ours, to be honest. The shape is so different, even though I wouldn't be surprised if it still has the same roughly 3.6, 3.8 litre engine, but it looks so different. to ours, and this one looks especially different to ours because it's beautifully restored, as original as they get. And these lovely original trafficators are just great. One of my favourite things about this particular old truck, we have some of those on our big 3-ton Dodge Transporter at home. But that is an incredible restoration on that. What an amazing old truck, that 1950s, so quite an early era, this shape of Dodge pickup. Yes, I just can't get over how different it is 3 years later when compared to ours, which is a pre-war design. The SL55 AMG Mercedes here, that's a really good looking car actually, isn't it? I'm sure that packs quite a punch. Peugeot 205 GTI, these were sold as the 1.6 and the 1.9, both little 4-cylinder engines. This one, the larger 1.9. These are becoming very, very desirable emerging classic cars now. And a car that is an absolute staple of the classic British car community. I've just been handed a bagel by Mum, which is great. The combo with the Morris Minor 1000 Traveller in blue, beautifully restored example. The wood on the back of these denoting it as a Traveller, estate version of the Morris Minor. Now the wood on these is actually structural, so it is important that the wood's good on these because they can rot away quite easily and they can get quite bad, so not an easy car to restore, these Morris Minor Travellers. I am gesticulating with a bagel, yes, but a great restoration on this particular Morris Minor 1000 Traveller. Amazing car. There's another incredibly mint condition Morris Minor 1000, sandwiching, both of them actually sandwiching the Triumph Acclaim. That's another absolutely incredibly restored car. They're almost identical. This one doesn't have wing mirrors, this one has door mirrors instead. But yeah, both insanely well restored cars. And here, probably an unrestored, very original car, the Triumph Acclaim. I think rebadged Honda Civic, is it? Something like that. Sorry for the voice crack, that was pretty diabolical. Cloth seats. Yeah, one original little car. The Ford Probes are in town. Right, so here's the interior on the wonderful, is it C3 Corvette? Wow, so 4-speed manual. What sort of power are we looking at from this engine?
Well, it's only 270 horse, that's what they reckon.
270? That's maybe a bit of an underestimate, do you think?
Well, it's a but it's got 455 pounds a foot torque.
Right, yeah. And, so, have you restored this yourself?
I've done a lot myself, and I have a guy who does work for me, but it's part-time, he comes at night time at weekends. And we're at it like for 12 bloody months, trying to make all the gaps right on the tip tops. The doors were atrocious. Yes. These windows were atrocious. They just butchered it.
Right.
And then everything you find, every bolt doesn't fit, all this stuff. But eventually, you just keep going and going.
It's the bit no one talks about restoring old cars, isn't it? The rusted up fittings and trying to find the right spanner.
These are replacement rubbers.
Right.
Before they ended there. I didn't know about this. On the other door, it was hitting that, restricting it. But because all behind there, they're all metal, believe it or not.
Right.
They're metal, reinforced with metal. So you can't bend, you can't play with them. So you got to keep adjusting the doors and everything. Anyway, eventually.
Yeah, they never show that on the sort of the TV when you're restoring old cars, do they?
Oh, they're a nightmare. Trying to get these stuff not rattle.
Yes.
And these, we covered all these. These was plastic before. They was horrible. They're all split. But end of the day, the car was straight. We stripped it. No major damage. I expect it's had a new back quarter, a front window, but there was no damage like that. So we're quite lucky with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to have a look under the bonnet. So it's a 454 cubic inch V8, straight through exhaust. I'm sure it sounds pretty wild if you give it a little squirt, doesn't it? No, if it was too clean, you'd be afraid to use it, wouldn't you? You need to use these old things. Yeah. Turbojet. Yeah, I'm sure that makes quite the sound out of these straight through side exhausts. What a great looking car that is. Please, that'd be great. I'm never going to sort of deny a chance to hear this wonderful V8 engine. The owner's going to fire it up. Might have to stop talking for a bit because I'm sure it sounds pretty cool. That sounds pretty straight through to me. I'm sure, yeah, quite a few people are being drawn over to this now. Quite a sight, this. Wow. Can you imagine that at sort of 5,000 revs or something? What a sound. That is quite loud. Yeah, I'm sure that'd be quite an assault on the ears if you were to give it some revs, but what a car. I'm getting a nice warm draft from that. Nice warm draft.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's warming me up on a chilly morning. That does sound pretty ace. That is pretty cool. How can you not love the snarl of that big block? Yeah. Thanks very much to the owner for firing that one up. For more V8 action, bonnet is up on the Rover P6. This is just a little one compared to the Corvette 3.5 litre engine running off SU carburetors, but still a very powerful unit. That's a really, one of the best looking P6s I've seen in a long time. Those wheels, that engine, manual gearbox, really appealing car. This one I think in red as well, just looks great. There are still cars coming in. I love this sort of lax attitude of the classic car breakfast meetings where you come and go when you want. I can hear something behind me. Ah, the third MGB of the day, the first MGB GT of the day. That's a great looking car. Really usable classic sports car, those MGBs. Now I think actually there are a couple of new arrivals here. There's the Ford Granada with the 2.8 V6, but look at this. Possibly the oldest car of the day here so far. This is a Navy done-up Plymouth 1940. So this would, I don't know if it's been made up or if it's an original Navy car, but it's all accessorised out. The Mazda bulbs, not Mazda cars, but Mazda bulbs. Oh yeah, all sorts of accessories. So is this V8 or straight 6, do you think? Plymouth is, yeah, straight 6. Yeah, it'll be the same engine as our 47 pickup. Wow, what's that? Is it a horn? That's pretty cool. So has this been made up, or is it original? Or... It does look cool. Almost like a sort of film prop, isn't it? 1940 Plymouth. That Corvette sounded pretty cool, didn't it? Wow, look at the dials. They're pretty cool.
Pretty spectacular.
Gotta love the old American stuff. That's a super cool Mark II or Mark III little mini, really original looking little car. Yeah, how can you not absolutely love the look of this fantastic 1940 wartime Plymouth? What a great looking car. Bonnet up on the Super 8 automatic Avenger. Yeah, it is an automatic, so it's even rarer. So single Stromberg, is it? Carburettor. There's a TVR Chimera making a lovely noise in the background. There's the Corvette, and here's the TVR Chimera. What a great sound that makes. An evolution of the Rover V8 engine, enlarged to roughly 4 litres, or maybe even more in a car like this.
How do you know it's a 4 litre?
They usually say Chimera 400 on the back, don't they? But I'm not sure.
You get a 400, a 430, a 450 and
Right.
a 500.
Which one's this one then?
That is a 400.
400, right, okay.
But I've got a 5.2.
That's quite a big engine.
Yeah. Mine's a Griffith though.
Right,
Follows
yes.
on CVRCC Lancashire.
Right, so the Griffith larger engine, but this Chimera certainly sounds pretty fruity. Plenty more arrivals in the overflow car park. Now that is one absolutely immaculate MGB Roadster there. Incredibly clean. The two Rover Metros and the Nissan Almera. Another very clean MGB Roadster with plenty of badges, Lucas spot lamps, Ford Focus RS, VW camper, the Series 2. Fantastic looking Mercedes, really great looking car, that one for sale. And this is really nice actually, a sort of road rally spec or road race spec, little Austin Cooper S Mini. Oh, this one's certainly all stripped out, isn't it? So it's got the Mark 1 rear lights on this one, being a B-Reg it probably would be a Mark 1. B-Reg is about 64 or 65. Rear mounted spot lamp, a nice Lucas spot lamp. Flared arches, really good looking little racer. And a very tunable engine, probably matched up to a straight cut gears, gearbox, quick release bonnet. Has got all the bells and whistles, that one. Really great looking little almost racing Mini there. MGB GT, this looks like a really nice usable little car. I can absolutely see myself in something like this in a few years time. Really affordable, they should always be affordable. Really classic British sports car, classic British GT in the case of this one. Parts absolutely everywhere. There's just so many of them around, really easy to own I think. That is just a really nice little car that. And this I think is a Citroen Xantia. I really don't know, it's next to the two Ford Probes. Is it a Citroen Xantia? I mean this is, in this country you just don't see any of these. Oh, XM, not a Xantia then, Citroen XM. Left-hand drive, so perhaps a French import, automatic. Did these have like a V6 or something? I don't really know. What a car that is though. I bet there's no other of those probably in the radius of 100 miles that are at least on the road. There might be a couple of dumped ones around, but what a weird car it is, isn't it? What a strange looking car, but so rare. The fruity sounding Chimera's off. That's a really good looking car. Great sounding car as well.
We didn't stay out late, but we were all very ill.
Oddly, that's the first Morris Minor saloon of the day. We've had two absolutely immaculately restored Morris Minor Travellers, but that's the first Morris 1000 saloon we've seen today, which is not something I thought I'd be saying. That one actually quite modified rear lights and paintwork. Very unusual rear lights on that one actually. As the Volvo estate is coming into birth. Looks like that wonderful Mark II XK8 is off, the 4.2 litre car. That is followed by the great decals actually. I really like the look of that Mark III MX-5. The flared arches look so cool on that little car. I really do like that. Sounds nice as well actually. Daimler Sovereign's off. It's an immaculate old car that. I think one of the Chrysler 300s is a bit annoyed. Anyway, in the meantime, oh, it stopped. Rover P6, the 2.2 litre twin carb car, is off now. That is followed by that really handsome Mercedes. One thing that we haven't looked at already is the magnificent Reliant Ant. Somehow I forgot to have a look at this one as it came in just a few minutes ago. The Reliant Ant. Extremely modified old truck. But really rare as well. So I think the engine's sort of down there, probably sort of similar to like a Reliant Robin engine or something.
Yeah.
And there's this funny little creation on the back. I bet that's quite nippy on the back of the wonderful Reliant Ant. Cars are still arriving. A huge, I think probably Volvo 940 rolling in now as the Mark 1 Escort Mexico leaves. Just behind that, it was a 940. Here's another Porsche 944, very unusual colour. I'd like to know what engine or what's been done to the engine in this Escort van, because that looks pretty serious. Cars are still arriving. First up, the Viva HC. That's in a great colour, isn't it? Followed by little MG Midget, first one of those of the day as well. I just realised there's a little separate section here with a few more cars. There's, oh, what's behind me? A bit of the bay window VW camper with a very nice roof rack. Yeah, let's have a little look at these. So is it the 996 Porsche 911? Fantastic looking Aston Martin, a V8 Vantage or something like that, but that looks just great. A couple of BMW M4s, a Mustang. And just beyond the Fiat Coupe on the end is an absolutely glorious Aston Martin DB7. Wonderful looking car. Really like this. Apparently Dad said these are based on some Jaguar XJ8 underpinnings. It's a Vantage as well, wow. What a great looking car that is. And I think it has a manual gearbox, so that is probably the perfect modern classic Aston Martin. Really love that. I think it might even have a V12, but that with a manual gearbox, absolutely awesome. Next to the great Fiat Coupe, well, that Aston is just gorgeous. That is one of my favourite cars I've seen here today. Really love the look of that one. But I've seen many favourite cars here today. Here's the McLaren 570S. The really rare Rover P5 3 litre is off now. It's an amazing old car, that. We've had a Citroen XM already, and I think that's a Citroen Xantia. The rare Citroens are out in full force today. Another late arrival, yet another Rover P6. This one is not badged up as an S, this is just badged up as a 3500. So this will be matched up to an automatic transmission, this particular car, as one of the two Chrysler 300s goes off, and that wonderful Jaguar XK8. That's such a lovely car, that. I really am very fond of that. Yeah, here's the old P6, great looking car. XK8's parking back up again, not sure where it's been. What a just glorious looking car that is, though. Well everyone, you now join me inside Heskin Hall itself. And what a fantastic venue for a classic car breakfast meeting this is. It's all absolutely open for you to have a wander around. Unfortunately, I haven't genned up too much on the history of this place. Don't worry, my feet are relatively clean. Yeah, what a fantastic location for a breakfast classic car meeting this is. It's all just open for you to have a look around. What an amazing place. Well, that was random. I've come up to the exit of Heskin Hall as all the classic cars are now pouring out. So I think it's time to capture a few departures. That was an exhaust scrape and a half on the BRG Mini and the Fiat 126. Such good little cars, this lot. Classic cars are made to be driven. That's why I've come to the entrance, to capture the sight and sound of them driving away. The Reliant Ant is off. And what you just heard was the sound of the gloriously smooth 6-cylinder engine firing up on the wonderful 1940 Plymouth. What a great quiet engine that is. Absolutely wonderful car. Right, well I think that's all to see from the Northwest Classic Vehicles Breakfast Classic Car Meeting here at the absolutely wonderful venue of Heskin Hall. Been a really enjoyable breakfast classic car meeting, and despite some slightly damp and very chilly February weather, we've still seen a turnout of roughly 120 or 130 cars, which is just absolutely fantastic. I probably couldn't pick a favourite, although that C3 Corvette was very tasty in my opinion, so that would certainly be up there. There's a big buzzard flying around there. Nature photography isn't my speciality. See if we can get it. There we go. They always look very graceful, birds flying like that, don't they? So yeah, that's everything from this absolutely fantastic breakfast classic car meeting. £3 for the enthusiast cars and classic cars to come in, and absolutely free for the public, and I absolutely would recommend popping along. It's just a really great meet with a fantastic atmosphere. So that's all for now, and I think with this MGB Roadster I'll say goodbye and thanks very much for watching.